Here are the top 5 most stupid moves by our African presidents that will simply leave you wondering how a whole president makes these stupid and highly uncalculated moves. In this video, you will find out about 5 African presidents who made one of the most uncalculated moves in history. These top 5 unintelligent moves are so silly that it would leave you thinking why these top 5 selected African presidents are in power in the first place. Make sure you stay till the end, as the one that occupies the #1 spot is the most mindless, unleveled, and chicken-headed move in the history of Africa. And, to make matters worse, it is from a whole PhD holder. Let's take a deep dive. Number 5. Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe. Throughout Africa's post-independence history, several leaders have made decisions that have had detrimental effects on their nations. These choices, often driven by personal ambition, corruption, or mismanagement, have led to economic decline, social unrest, and international isolation. One of the most notorious examples is Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe. Initially hailed as a liberation hero, Mugabe's land reform policies in the early 2000s led to the violent seizure of white-owned farms. While intended to address colonial-era injustices, which was a step in the right direction, these actions resulted in a collapse of agricultural production, hyperinflation, and widespread food shortages. Here is the catch. Why would you take back land from the white farmers without making sure food production in the country is not interrupted? However, this wasn't the case. Mugabe went ahead with his land reform agenda without ensuring food safety and food production is not compromised. By 2008, inflation had reached astronomical levels, and the economy was in freefall. Mugabe's refusal to relinquish power further exacerbated the country's woes, leading to international sanctions and isolation. Number 4. Barrow of the Gambia. The next unwise move on this list is by the president of the Gambia, Barrow. This is completely stupid. Barrow came into office with the aim of holding the former president Yahya Jammeh accountable. He even went as far as confiscating the personal belongings of the former president Yahya Jammeh. Barrow further went on to set commissions like the JANA Commission and the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, or TRRC. All this was geared towards looking into the past affairs of the former president Yahya Jammeh and holding him to account. Well, guess what? These commissions have been finalized, and shocking realities like brutal murders, theft of public funds, rape cases, torture, and many were revealed regarding the former president Yahya Jammeh's regime. However, the Gambian president Adama Barrow has decided to not do anything in terms of making sure justice is served. Instead, Adama Barrow had decided to bring the people of Yahya Jammeh close to himself, and he is now following the footsteps of the former president. With extreme looting of funds, extreme poverty, and suicide cases on the rise, Adama Barrow is even worse, as he is now pushing for him not to be held accountable after leaving office. This had led to a new constitution failing in parliament. This is a very stupid move, as Adama Barrow was the very same person pushing for the former president to be held accountable, and now he is repeating and following the footsteps of the former president. Does this make sense? Would you not be held accountable after leaving office just like you dog into the affairs of the former president? Since assuming office in 2017, Gambian President Adama Barrow has faced mounting criticism over allegations of financial mismanagement and a lack of accountability. Despite initial promises to combat corruption and promote transparency, his administration has been marred by reports of fiscal irresponsibility and extravagant spending. Notably, the government's failure to account for approximately $375,760 from the sale of former President Yahya Jammeh's assets has raised concerns about oversight and transparency. The National Audit Office highlighted that receipts were not properly documented, and records were missing, suggesting systemic issues in financial governance. This is a humble request to please support our work by liking this video and subscribing to the African Pacific YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Number 3. Macky Sall of Senegal. Macky Sall tried one of the most uncalculated moves ever seen in Senegal's history. He tried postponing the presidential election without giving a valid reason. He also put PASTEF leaders into prison in a bid to stop them from taking power, which, well, didn't work. In early 2024, Senegal faced a significant political crisis when then-President Macky Sall attempted to postpone the presidential election, originally scheduled for February 25th. On February 3rd, just hours before the official campaign period was set to begin, Sall announced the delay, citing disputes over the eligibility of certain opposition candidates and concerns about potential unrest. The National Assembly supported this move, passing a bill to reschedule the election for December 15th. However, the parliamentary session was marred by controversy, as security forces forcibly removed some opposition lawmakers from the chamber during the debate. The postponement sparked widespread protests across Senegal, a nation previously regarded as a bastion of democracy in West Africa. Critics labeled the delay a constitutional coup, accusing President Sall of attempting to extend his tenure unlawfully or manipulate the electoral process to favor his preferred successor. The situation escalated tensions, leading to violent clashes between demonstrators and security forces, resulting in several deaths and numerous arrests. In response to the growing unrest and legal challenges, Senegal's Constitutional Council intervened. On February 15th, the council ruled that both President Sall's decree and the National Assembly's bill to delay the election were unconstitutional. While acknowledging that holding the election on the original date was no longer feasible, the council urged authorities to organize the vote as soon as possible. Number 2. Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria. The Nigerian president took the most chaotic of measures without ensuring safety first before entirely removing subsidies. How silly does that sound? Yes, subsidies can hinder economic development, but all safety measures must be taken at all cost before removing subsidies. The fuel subsidy is a prime example. Nigeria is an oil-rich country. Why not make sure Nigeria is able to produce their own fuel before removing subsidies? If Nigeria is producing their own fuel, there will be no need for subsidizing fuel, and you will be able to place a complete embargo on fuel imports. Besides, the Dangote refinery wasn't far away from its completion. In May 2023, upon assuming office, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu announced the immediate removal of the long-standing fuel subsidy. This policy, intended to reduce government expenditure and attract foreign investment, led to a sharp increase in fuel prices, triggering a cascade of economic challenges. Transportation costs soared, affecting the prices of goods and services nationwide. Inflation surged, reaching 27.33% by October 2023, with food inflation peaking at 31.52%, exacerbating the cost of living crisis for millions of Nigerians. The removal of the subsidy significantly impacted food security. By November 2024, reports indicated that approximately 33 million Nigerians were at risk of food insecurity, a substantial increase from previous figures. Factors contributing to this crisis included the economic reforms, high inflation, and increased transportation costs. Additionally, flooding and insecurity in northern states destroyed vast areas of farmland, further diminishing food availability. The economic strain led to tragic incidents. In December 2024, at least 67 people died in stampedes at charity events in Oyo, Anambra, and Abuja, as desperate citizens sought food and aid. These events underscored the severity of the hunger crisis and the desperation faced by many Nigerians. Public discontent manifested in widespread protests. In July 2024, demonstrations erupted across the country, with citizens expressing frustration over the economic hardship. Number 1. William Ruto of Kenya. Samuel William Ruto had made the most stupid move in history. He mounted taxes on goods and services, with the most basic commodity like bread also being taxed. But look at the timing. This was announced after him embarking on a luxury trip to the United States. This saw him spend $1.5 million of taxpayers' hard-earned money on hiring a luxurious private jet. So, massive tax increases after an expensive trip. How stupid does this sound? From a whole PhD holder. Besides, where were his advisors? Were they sleeping on the job? Besides, why would ordinary Kenyans suffer for the crimes of former Kenyan leaders who put Kenya into a catastrophic debt crisis? This doesn't make sense. In May 2024, Kenyan President William Ruto embarked on a state visit to the United States, marking the first such visit by a Kenyan leader in 2 decades. The trip, which included meetings with President Joe Biden, focused on strengthening bilateral ties, discussing Kenya's role in regional security, and exploring economic partnerships. However, the visit drew criticism back home due to the estimated $1.5 million cost of chartering a luxury private jet, especially amid ongoing economic challenges in Kenya. Shortly after returning from the U.S., President Ruto's administration introduced a finance bill proposing significant tax increases aimed at raising approximately $2.4 billion to address the country's mounting debt. The proposed taxes included hikes on essential goods and services, such as fuel, mobile money transfers, and basic food items. These measures sparked widespread public outrage, particularly among young Kenyans who felt betrayed by Ruto's earlier promises to reduce the cost of living. The discontent culminated in massive protests across the country on June 25, 2024, with demonstrators storming the parliament in Nairobi. The government's response involved deploying police forces, resulting in violent clashes that left at least 23 people dead and numerous others injured. The severity of the unrest highlighted the deep-seated frustration among citizens regarding economic hardships and perceived government extravagance. In the face of escalating protests and national outcry, President Ruto announced the withdrawal of the controversial finance bill on June 26, 2024. This is a polite reminder to please like this video and subscribe to the African Pacific YouTube channel. Please show your support by liking and subscribing. Thank you so much. This is the end of this. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching and stay safe.